Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our next webinar session dedicated to Agritech tools for oil palms in Southeast Asia. My name is Sergey Litvinov, and I'm a Senior Account Executive at EOS Data Analytics. And before we start, I'd like to ensure that you can hear me clearly. Just please put a plus in the comment section. Okay, thank you so much. Perfect. Thank you very much. So before we start, let me quickly introduce you to my colleagues who will be co-hosting this event with us. Please meet my colleague, Evgeny Marchenko, our Senior Account Executive at EOS Data Analytics. And also, please meet our partner, Adewale Adegogo, the CEO of AgriExchange Technology Services.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a delightful experience being on this call. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar. Yeah, we're glad to see you all here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. So let's move further. And let me quickly guide you through the agenda. First of all, I'd like to highlight that we will highlight some commitment to innovation. We will provide an overview of the oil palm market and share a real use case studies with you. Additionally, we will discuss the importance of a disease risk assessment for oil palm growth and introduce the PySawit model and its enhancement for oil palm management. And now I'd like to invite my colleague Evgeny to provide more information about our company.
Thank you, Sergey. Just quick overview about the company. So basically in our company, EOSDA, we focus on providing satellite data analytics. And this data analytics is basically mostly in terms of the processing of satellite imagery, fusion, development of new algorithms and new models, which we apply in our solutions like crop monitoring platform or land viewer. But also we deliver these solutions as custom tailored solutions to our partners and customers. And the company itself, our headquarters located in California, United States, but we work in worldwide, globally, with governmental institutions, scientific organizations, and also businesses to develop new solutions and promote remote sensing data and application of the satellite technology. Strong point of the company, I think that we have a very good team of data scientists. This is more than 60 people, including 5 professors and 15 PhD level scientists, which contribute to the development of our tools and solutions that we offer to our clients. Our company is committed to innovation, and Sergey will let you know what is the latest updates that we have, just to give you a better idea on the background, on the latest developments that we have in the company.
Thank you so much, Evgeny. Thank you very much. So yeah, and let's discuss innovations. So our company is committed to innovate. And on the screen, you can see our current focus areas. But I'd like to highlight some of the key points. So first of all, we provide the disease risk prediction. So it's a farmer assistance program offering a 14-day disease forecast to prevent yield loss and enhance farm management. So we believe that preventing the disease is much easier than fighting with it. Additionally, we launched our own satellite in January 2023, and it provides high-resolution insights. With a 1.5 to 3 meter resolution, it helps you to increase the precision agriculture management. And of course, the last but not least, our soil organic carbon modeling. So we provide a cost-effective soil sampling by helping our clients to reduce the cost on sampling by 90%. And I'd like to pass the stage to Evgeny, who will cover the oil palm market overview.
Yes, since the topic of today's webinar is oil palm cultivations, I would like to give a brief background on the oil palm market. So first of all, yes, we can see oil palm cultivation and production of palm oil is focused in basically tropical and subtropical regions. And as we can see here, 87% of all global palm oil is produced in 3 countries. This is Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. Also yet important to point out other contributors such as Colombia, Nigeria, Guatemala, which also contribute significant part to global oil palm production. And if we have a look at the dynamics of the market, so first of all, speaking about the volume of the oil palm production in 2014, it was 60 million metric tons produced, and right now in 2023 we have more than 80 million tons produced. So as we can see, the trend is on the growth. And if we have a look at the oil palm market size in dollars, so we also can see that for 2022 it was $65 billion, and yet the market is growing, and by 2032 the expected growth is up to $107 billion increase. So this is basically 5% growth year after the year. And this is not wonder why the oil palm market is growing, because oil palm is incredibly efficient oil, and as we can see here, it basically applicable in many industries and in many spheres of our life, including food production, including cosmetics, animal field, biofuel, energy, and many other industries. So essentially, oil palm can be found anywhere, and this oils is basically very important for the global market consumption. And oil palm is very efficient because it takes 6% of all the land used in comparison to other vegetable oils to produce 40% of the world's demand for the vegetable oil. So for example, oil palm produces 3 metric tons per hectare in comparison to the sunflower oil or olive oil. This is like 4.5 and 10 times more, and virtually to provide the same amount of palm oil, or vegetable oil, we would need to have 4 or up to 10 times more land consumed if we would grow and get the oil from other crops. So it's very efficient, and it basically helps to provide the global market demand. But of course, with this efficiency and the wide range of application, like any industry, oil palm cultivation has its own challenges. And the main challenges, as you can see here, this is pest and disease management. So this challenge greatly affects the productivity and overall the management of the oil palm plantation. For example, such as basal stem rot disease, which is caused by gonoderma, causes huge losses. And if we're speaking about in money equivalent, this could be up to $500 million per year caused by only one piece of this disease. So being able to have pest and disease management strategies in place, including monitoring, early detection, and basically integration of the pest management. So this is an essential step for successful cultivation of any of the organization and businesses who's cultivating oil palms. Another one, this is yield optimization. So basically, we see that because of the environmental restrictions, it's virtually challenging to increase the areas for oil palm cultivation. So the only way out to maintain the same level of production and basically to keep up the growth is to optimize yield on the existing areas. And yield optimization is, I would say, maybe #1 factor which all the oil palm plantation managers are concerned about. And having such practices like optimization of the planting densities, fertilizer inputs, pesticides application of irrigation are very important for successful yield growth and sustainability. There is also other factors which we're going to discuss less, for example, like environmental impact. Everybody understands that this is very important to basically grow in environmentally friendly environment and basically apply sustainability practices. other issues like labor issues, because the oil palm cultivation is very labor-intensive practice, and such activities as planting, harvesting, and maintenance require a lot of workforce. Also, this is land use conflicts, which also pose some challenges on the management of the oil palm plantations. Other factors like market volatility, so we live in a time when everything is changing, and we have these external factors which always influence on the market and the price, such as, for example, global demand, geopolitical events like wars, as we've seen right now happening. So also these factors is contributing to the market instability. This is also causing challenges for the successful cultivation. And to have good reputation and also have a good corporate governance, this is important to meet the regulatory compliance. And there is regulations and certification standards which need to be met by the oil palm producers, which is also one of the challenge, and the application of satellite data could help to establish these trustworthy relationships. Another big factor, last but not the least, this is climate change risks. So as we can see, climate change affects oil palm plantation greatly, because we have changes in rainfall patterns, we have changes in temperature, so we could see high temperatures. This is increased incident of pests and disease. So basically, these natural factors, I would say, one of the main challenges and one of the main threats that are faced by the oil palm producers, and being able to have data necessary to implement smart practices such as water consumption, soil management, and basically other practices which could help to optimize the operations of the plantations and also contribute to the increase in the yield outputs. And on this note, Advela, I just wanted to ask you, from your experience, could you please tell us if Nigeria, you have same challenges, or perhaps there is other challenges that are faced in the market in African region, and basically how it could be compared to the factors that I've just enumerated here.
Thank you very much, Jenny, for passing on the baton to me. And I will take on the responsibility of delving into this matter in terms of localized challenges related to oil palm production in Nigeria. As you know, the challenge spectrum is nuanced, across board, globally. And one of the key issues that we have to consider in Nigeria, which you spoke of in terms of the market, is one of the challenges is devaluation of our currency, which obviously increases cost of labor, cost of inputs, right? And cost of operations, or general cost of operations. And this also affects cost of borrowing, right, to be able to invest in oil palm production. So that means as the cost goes higher, the cost of production obviously goes higher as well. And also, secondly, we also have to consider land use tenure, which obviously raises issues of conflicts with host communities, and this happens quite often. However, in Nigeria, we have implemented, at some point regarding land administration with relative to large-scale agricultural investment, a framework called the Framework for Responsible and Inclusive Land-Intensive Agricultural Investment, FRILIA, is a framework that is being promoted by the World Bank, and is meant to provide comprehensive approach to the acquisition and allocation of land, and robust inclusive engagement strategy with all stakeholders included, including affected communities, vulnerable groups, and as well as private investors. So it's supposed to basically reduce any sort of conflict, with private investors relating to acquisition of large tracts of land for oil palm production. Another issue we have to also consider is environmental concerns, in terms of deforestation and sustainability. And obviously, you already mentioned market pricing challenges. And the last one, which is the obvious case here related to this webinar, is the adoption of digital technologies for agriculture, especially in terms of Earth observation, which brings us to our case study, the Okitipa Oil Palm PLC in Ondo State is a publicly traded company, as you can see from the name. Okitipa Oil Palm PLC has embarked on digital transformation agenda to be able to embed Earth observation digital technologies for agriculture, premised on precision agriculture and Earth observation, in the daily workflow of the Okitipa Oil Palm PLC. And one of the key areas where they've started with is the digitization. So they've started with digitizing the boundaries of all the estates, oil palm estates. As you can see at the bottom left here, where my mouse is, we started with digitization of the survey plans of each of the estates, which we now integrated with the EOSDA crop monitoring platform to be able to monitor the biomass using NDVI, Normalized Differential Vegetation Index, to see how the vigor of the oil palm stands. Now, one of the key areas that we're actually targeting with regards to Okitipa Oil Palm is to be able to use the satellite of EOSDA to be able to acquire very high resolution satellite imagery, do tree counts for each of the for the oil palm stands, identify them, and also be able to predict the yield, also estimate oil extraction ratio and kernel extraction ratio. These approaches have obvious benefits, especially to the business in terms of the expected returns on equity or expected returns on investment. And for a publicly traded company, it's also going to add to its share capital, in the stock exchange, which obviously means very well for oil palm in terms of profitability of the business. One has to be able to look ahead. This is a huge investment, and embedding data technologies or Earth observation within the daily workflow of the business basically is what is going to create or catalyze transformative economic opportunities or commercial opportunities, in this case for Okitipa Oil Palm PLC. Next is monitoring the water stress. Water is critical, soil moisture is critical for oil palm. And this also affects investments in irrigation. And so it's essential for oil palm investments, in this case of oil palm PLC in Ondo State, to be able to identify areas that need irrigation infrastructure. And so they're able to embed this in their budgetary or budget envelope for the year, and also be able to implement, as needed. Now, implementing or aligning digital technologies for agriculture with agribusiness is either to make it more efficient, the business more efficient, and also to be able to make it more profitable. However, one has to consider the fact that, one, oil palm production is, especially large-scale oil palm production, requires huge financial undertaking commitment, while investments in the digital infrastructure also will be able to help the business, save money and also increase the profit margin, which obviously brings into the picture investor confidence, so from pre-feasibility studies to implementation, there's data availability to be able to drive the business and provide actionable insight to be able to make informed decisions. And with that, I would like to pass the baton back to my colleague, Evgeny, to take you through the remaining process. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for giving these insights. And if you could please maybe bear with me just 1 second here.
No problem.
Yeah, from what you said, I understand that apart from those challenges and risks that have been mentioned here, including climate change risk and also pest and disease risks for Nigeria and African market, you also pointed out some factors which are basically also one of the major factors for your region. And you mentioned this is safe investment climate. This is also political social conditions, including legislation and other important factor. This is the industry digitalization. Is this correct understanding?
Yes, it is. I would like to say that in Nigeria, the Nigerian government at the federal level is actively pursuing, policies, implementing policies that would transform the agricultural landscape or the agribusiness landscape, right? And one of the key, with respect to oil palm, the Central Bank of Nigeria, for example, through the federal government, obviously, implemented the Oil Palm Development Initiative, which was introduced in 2019. And the aim of the initiative was closing the existing oil palm supply gap, right, of about 1.25 million metric tons annually. And the key objectives of the initiative to meet local demand of oil palm, right, improve local processing quality standard, to develop about 350,000 hectares of oil palm plantation by 2025, which is next year, to create jobs and enhance skills of Nigerians along the oil palm value chain, and to facilitate easy access to funding for all majors, including SMEs and smallholder farmers. It is an inclusive policy by the federal government of Nigeria to be able to transform and also ensure that the ranking of Nigeria as an oil palm producer would definitely increase. You know what I mean? We don't want to be stuck at 2%. We need to move very far ahead, with respect to that, and be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with, the giants in the industry. Then, secondly, I also like to mention about the zero oil strategy, by the Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, which is aimed at, diversification of the economy. And oil palm is one of the key areas, right, of value chain that is being considered. We all know how effective or how profitable, the oil palm is. You get what I mean? And we can see how other countries are making use of this. And the Nigerian government has basically been magnanimous in its approach to be able to ensure that there's adequate, security and adequate, processes are made available for investors that are going into the oil palm production, which obviously is something that will be able to expand and also contribute more, to the national GDP of the country in terms of the contribution of crop production to the GDP. I hope I was able to answer your questions.
Thank you, well, yeah, this is very ambitious plans, and we wish you successful outcomes. And yeah, speaking about digital transformation, Sergey will cover what solution we can offer in EOSDA in terms of our platform, crop monitoring platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. Thank you very much, Evgeny. Thank you, everyone who is staying with us. Really appreciate it. So let me quickly just tell you more about our crop monitoring platform. So first of all, the crop monitoring platform, it's the perfect tool for monitoring and controlling plantations during all growth stages. So from sowing to harvesting and everything in between. It provides multiple types of data, such as plant health, weather conditions, field activities, elevation maps, soil moisture, and many more. And everything is one place. So by using different layers and analytics, you can make informed decisions. So as our business partner Eduardo mentioned, you just need to have data, and by having data, you will be able to make informed decisions. So one of the examples is the elevation maps. So for example, with the elevation maps, you can correctly evaluate the number of seedlings for cultivation in plantations. And there are many other layers that you can use in order to make informed decisions that will definitely help you to improve your yield. And when it comes to weather analytics, we provide a sophisticated weather data analytics using data from the hyperlocal weather provider called Meteomatics. So you can analyze weather and historical weather patterns, and if your plantations are scattered in different areas, you will still be able to obtain information at the plantation level. And the data that we provide, it goes back to 1979, so meaning that you can technically use the historical data. And some additional parameters that we provide are accumulated precipitation, evapotranspiration, global radiation, daily precipitation, sum of active temperatures, and of course, the forecast is also there. So my colleague Evgeny will cover some additional features within the platform.
So basically, I would say one of the main factors that contributes to the high yields, it's availability of soil moisture and also groundwater. This is very important to understand what is the availability at what stage. And as Sergey mentioned, the digital platform provides, the advantage of this platform is it's not only provide current data, but it's also possible to have a look at the historical trends, which could be very informative, for example, for companies. I've been speaking to a lot of management, upper management, who's actually doing this work, and basically they have a lot of data gathered by the soil probes, soil sensors, or also by the ground stations. And here we believe that combined with the satellite data, it could provide more information on which you could make better decisions, because by having ability to have a look at the historical trends, again, this is both for imagery and for the weather data. So we could have a look at the historical trends, and we could see and compare what events, what factors are contributed to increase or decrease of the yield. For example, like it was in 2015, El Niño event, which basically affected greatly Kalimantan and other neighboring areas. So the effect of the hurricane could be traced throughout the year, so we could see the decline. So basically, I know that a lot of companies, they use drones, and we believe that this data combined with the satellite data could be even more powerful, because here we do not compete with the drones. We provide additional layer of data, which is macro layer. A lot of you will say that we have in this region in Asia, Southeast Asia, it's all the time covered with the clouds. Yeah, this is a well-known issue, and yeah, we're very aware of that fact. The practice shows that usually during the month, it's possible to obtain 1 or 2 clear images for the whole plantation, and yeah, this data, this image, could be used for internal analytics combined with the drone data. Drones, they also not used a lot, and I know that some of the companies, they flew drones like once a month or even like once half a year, and so on. So basically, drone application could be in addition to the satellite data, just to investigate those areas which could be found by the satellite imagery.
Yeah. Thanks, Evgeny. If you don't mind, I'd like to contribute to that as well. And for this, the narrative, using drones, basically, as Evgeny mentioned, they have their own place in terms of, cost and efficiency. And we need to consider the fact that, especially if you have, if you want to carry out, regular monitoring of the field week on week, using satellite imagery basically is about the best option in terms of, the automation of data processing and all that. And where we have, low Earth orbiting satellites that will be able to provide, really clear and very high resolution satellite imagery. However, for on-the-spot scouting, yes, that is very applicable for drones. You need to check a spot on the field. You can move the drones there to be able to do that. But in cases where, like for Oil PLC, that has fields that are distributed across vast areas of, areas of interest, the cost of logistics, security, additional drone pilots and all that, basically increasing the overhead for using the drones, frequently. But like I said, for scouting purposes, yes. For monitoring, the satellite imagery, I think, makes a lot more sense, especially when you have really vast areas like 30,000 hectares, 22,000 hectares and stuff like that. That will be able to, and it's cheaper. Again, it's faster. And when you have, now that in Nigeria we're in the wet season, you can't fly your drones when it's raining, then that means you have efficiency gains basically drops when with with the weather. But with satellite imagery, you still have the data regardless. You get what I mean, and you can task to be able to get something that is pretty current. So yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you for contributing. And as you said correctly, yeah, both of the technologies, I mean, drones and satellite data, they have their own advantages as well as limitations. So I think, as I mentioned before, combining this data could actually give this advantage of having both, like very high resolution and the macro level, being able to cover really vast areas, because here in Indonesia, Malaysia, we have plantations which are 50, 100, or even more 1,000 hectares in size. So this is quite challenging, like to cover and be able to track all of these areas. And I think another very important factor which contributes to the yield, this is the application of fertilizer. And basically the ability to understand, to spot those deficient areas in the plantation, they can be a game changers, because this will allow for the managers on the plantation to understand on what areas they should focus first of all, to be able to apply inputs in time, and this way, like to increase the highest yields possible out of that block. And in the platform, you have different type of variety application maps, including productivity, vegetation, and multi-layer maps, which could actually provide you with the current state, but also provide some historical overview of the productivity. For example, vegetation maps, they could be used for application of nitrogen and sulfur. So they based on the current image, and they could show you the current conditions of the oil palms. While productivity maps, they based on the number of historical images. It could be selected for several years, and they will give you like a historical perspective, what areas of the plantations on average have the higher productivity. Again, under productivity, I mean the average NDVI value per pixel. So by looking at these maps, you could understand what parts of the plantations are historically more productive. But I'm sure, yeah, most of the companies, they have very good records of historical yield data, statistical data, and we will speak about this a little bit later when we're going to speak about PySawit Model and its application. So again, I'm sure that a lot of companies have collected a lot of data, including statistical data for previous years, and also a lot of ground data in terms of the soil samples, in terms of the measurement of the temperature, soil moisture level, again, which could be combined with the satellite data and could provide even more better insights. And yeah, speaking about the major risks, yeah, we would like to cover disease risks, and Sergey will tell you what is this module about and how is it used and how it could be helpful for oil palm plantations.
Thank you so much, Evgeny. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. And let me quickly cover the disease risk module. So as I mentioned previously, that we believe that preventing the disease is much easier than fighting with it. So that's why our science team has developed a disease risk module that provides a 14-day forecast of the probability of specific diseases that can occur on plantations. And risks appear when there is a combination of certain factors, such as temperature, relative humidity, soil moisture, and growth stages. And of course, there is some secret formula under the hood that we use in order to predict risks. We rely on the hyperlocal Mediomatics service, and the accuracy grid is 90 by 90 meter. So let me quickly share with you the available diseases that we are currently working on to be integrated into the crop monitoring platform. So our science team is currently working on this module that will become available in the crop monitoring platform soon. And it's already there, but we're working on implementing palm oil diseases specifically. So far, we're planning to support bud rot, spare rot, heart rot, leaf yellowing, little leaf and crown diseases, and many others. Also, additionally, the module will support a list of diseases caused by a pathogenic fungus, such as basal stem rot, blast disease, marasmius bunch rot, and others. So, as you can see, we're basically continue innovation within this track, and we believe that preventing the disease is much easier than fighting with it. And on this note, I'd like to pass the stage to Yevgeny, who will cover PySawit Model.
Yeah, thank you, Serge. Actually, I just wanted to quickly come back to this slide, and as Sergey mentioned, so this module is working, the algorithm is working by using updates, daily updates of the weather data, and we use a commercial provider which provides high accurate data with the hourly updates. So basically in algorithm, we use such factors as temperature, air humidity, soil moisture, and basically the growth stages of oil palms. And yeah, we understand, yeah, this is not conventional crops, and yeah, the oil palms, they have stages of developments and the lifespan of several years, and at each of these stages there is some risks of the appearance of these diseases. And yeah, these factors, as I mentioned here, are measured, and based on these factors, algorithm calculate the probability. It's will show you daily updates, either it's a low, medium, or high probability of this disease. And at any case, we're not saying that it's gonna solve all of your problems here, but this module will provide you estimation of the probability of the appearance of this disease based on these factors. So again, we're taking out human factor out of the equation, and we offer technology to be able to decide what is the probability of these risks. And again, for small areas, it's totally fine to have regular monitoring, scouting, and basically timely detect this disease. But if we're speaking about on a large scale, you know, like areas over several thousand hectares, so in that case, it's very difficult with the frequency have these areas monitored. So in this case, we have this oil palm risks assessment module, which could help for the management to prevent these diseases. Yeah, currently, as Sergey mentioned, this is 13 diseases, but again, list could be increased, again, depending on your request. So if you have any specific disease that you would like to include, you can just let us know, and we will evaluate here the probability of adding new diseases. And yeah, moving forward here to another solution. Yeah, this is oil palm yield prediction based on the PySawit model adapted by EOSDA. So first of all, yeah, the PySawit model, this is the model which already exists, and it was developed by Christopher Sand from the University of Putra, Malaysia, and the final publication about this model was done in 2018. And yeah, the main purpose of this model is to provide growers and businesses with the estimation of oil palm growth and yield modeling. So basically being able to estimate or predict the outcomes, the yield. And yeah, this is already a robust and a tested model which has been applied multiple times across the industry. And here you can see the accuracy of this model. So usually if we're speaking about the dry matter weight measurement, the accuracy of the model is over 80%, so about 15% of absolute error. So in our company, in EOSDA, our scientists, they have the approach to increase the accuracy and overall enhance the model by adding satellite data. But yeah, before we switch to that, I just wanted to mention the main modules which are contribute to the model. So basically, this is meteor data. So as I mentioned before, yeah, such factors as availability of moisture, basically the meteor factors. This is the weather data, and which is taken into parameters, which one of the main factors. Another one, this is crop data. So this is the simulation of palm trees growth, and yeah, some factors as the maintenance also taken into account. And another one, yeah, this is soil water underground water, which one of the main contributors of the oil palm's growth and its yield growth. So this is the factor which is also contributes. Another one, this is photosynthesis, and as we can see here, oil palms, they actually support sustainability and contribute to removal of CO2 from the air, because they use a lot of CO2 for the photosynthesis. So this is a factor which is also accounted in the model, as well as energy balance. So the sum of active days, the temperature is also calculated while we use these models. And in EOSDA, we went one step further. So our scientists, we integrated several parameters, satellite parameters, which will increase the accuracy of this data. So overall, the model itself is already showing good results, about 80%. But our team, we have experimented, and we're still experimenting to find out what of these predictors, what of these additional satellite parameters could increase the accuracy of the data, such as layer leaf area index. And the scientists know that the layer assimilation could overall increase the accuracy of the any model by 10 or 15%. So this is another great factor. And basically, layer, this is a chief driver of the photosynthesis, and basically by having more information about photosynthesis, it will help us to predict the growth of the dry mass. Canopy temperature, this is also a factor which contributes to the photosynthesis and overall energy balance in the plant. So this data is also contributed, as well as soil moisture, which we already calculate and we provide either through the platform or through our API. We have this data calculated for Indonesia, so it's already available in the platform. So this is another predictor which could be used to increase the accuracy of the model, as well as vegetation indices such as NDVI or NDRE, as well as we could use satellite imagery to better understand this planting density, basically the spacing between the plants, and also if there is any thinning or pruning activities were done on a plantation. So these are the factors which we believe will increase the accuracy of the model and help us to provide even better results for the yield assessment. Another important one here, as I mentioned before, this is understanding how the soil moisture and the availability of water influence the yield, and the research in the next slides will cover this question.
Thank you very much, Evgeny. Thank you very much for all your insights. And as my colleagues mentioned before, that moisture is very important for maximizing yield from each palm tree. And tracking plantation water status by soil moisture parameter helps to reach optimal conditions. So monitoring soil moisture status allows you to plan irrigation schedules and create optimal conditions for maximizing yield from each palm tree. And on the screen, you can see the green and blue bars, which display the potential and actual yield, meaning that you can technically improve yield from each palm tree by optimizing like moisture and nutrient conditions. So, and satellite technology provides like means to actualize modeled soil moisture and locate drier areas. So by using this data properly, you can significantly increase oil palm yields from every single tree. So the original PySawit model developed by Christopher Sung, it didn't include and didn't utilize satellite imagery. And our science team has tested and adjusted modeling results with the satellite data. So for example, by assimilating vegetation indices such as leaf area assimilation and NDVI. So it means over time, theoretical simulations can diverge from the real situation in the field. And by the assimilation of the satellite data and like using actual conditions, you can technically maximize forecast accuracy. And on the screen, you can see how satellite images impact model results by making them more realistic. So our science team has validated the model and by using open source data and confirming its effectiveness. And if you're looking to improve yield and from each palm tree and improve farming practices, we encourage you to provide us with your data. So in order to start doing a POC project, we required some data from the client. So there is a kind of fundamental data and supplementary data. So the fundamental data includes age of trees, planting density, planting strategy, and of course, we would need at least 20 to 30 stands with a total area of at least 1,000 hectares. Additional input data will certainly help us to increase the results. So those could be depth of groundwater table, soil maps, weight of planted palms, and other data that could help us to improve the accuracy. So I'd like to invite my colleague Evgeny, who will tell you more about the output data.
Yes, and before we reach to the output data, I just want to quickly go back to the slide and just once again to point out the importance of water availability. So here on this graph below, you can see in blue, this is water limited actual yield. And in green, we see the values of ideal optimal yield which could be achieved. So as you can see, the water limited yield in comparison to ideal yield outcomes is like 3 times more. There is like 3 times difference. So the importance of the availability of the moisture is basically invaluable. And understanding this data, understanding how this affects the yield also will give basically the leverage to understand how we could optimize it, when we should optimize the irrigation again to make it more cost effective with the highest impact on the yield increase. And in EOSDA, we use region-specific data. So all the data that we're going to use for the model, for the yield estimation, going to be taken from the exact area of the location of your oil palm blocks, of the oil palm plantation. So, and as you can see here, usually this is some average data taken, but in our case, we're going to use specific data, including data specifically for your plantation on soil moisture, temperature, and so on. So basically, all these factors should contribute to the highest results. And as Sergey mentioned, we open to do the POC project, so basically the pilot project to validate this model and our approach. And for those of you who would like to discuss this further, yeah, please feel free to reach out. We will tell you what is needed and what would be the outcomes. And yeah, speaking about outcomes, yeah, usually we provide the results in form of raster or vector masks, also with the report, so with the description of the total area, average value per block, and so on. So basically, that would be some analytical report. And yeah, the advantage of PySawit model that it provides information not only about the yield outcomes for the bunches, for the fruits, but it also provides information about other parts of the oil palms, like trunk, roots, which also could help us to understand, especially like at early stages of development, if the plants, if they developing normally, they developing well, or there is any deficiency and so on. So basically, this also could be used for prevention and basically early detections of any diseases which could affect young plants, especially at early stages. The frequency of yield estimation could be different. It could be from 2 weeks up to 1 month, and to the frequency that is required for your plantation. So again, details could be discussed. So as you can see, we understand that for the oil palms, yeah, harvesting is happening constantly all the time, and basically the frequency of this process is also high. So the outputs of this model could be provided also with a high frequency of repetition as early as 2 weeks, or again, depending on your objectives. And yeah, on this note, Adewale, yeah, from what we've discussed about the risk disease estimation and also by applying PySawit model for the yield estimation, how do you think how this could be used for oil palm management in Nigeria and maybe overall in African region?
Yeah, thanks very much for that question. First, we need to consider the issue of disease and pest management as part of risk management for investment. You're managing risk associated with agribusiness investment. You know what I mean? Now, the risk is if an investor or an agribusiness practitioner is not, or a farmer, an open farmer, is not proactive in managing pests, infestation of pests or the incidence of diseases, what happens is the farmer stands a chance of spending more money, right, combating the pests and disease through the lifespan of the crop, right? While the cost basically erodes the profit margin that is expected of the investment, right? So for me, for Agri-Exchange, representing Agri-Exchange, we are in the business of de-risking agribusiness or agriculture crop production using Earth observation, which makes it more proactive for investors in oil palm, for example, to be able to make insightful, or actionable, to take actionable insight, right, regarding how to predict and basically tackle issues that would foster pest infestation. Because if you're able to predict, if you know what is going to happen tomorrow, then today you already put measures in place to combat or to reduce that risk. So it comes under the risking, financial investments in oil palm. So it is also part of the digital transformation for oil palm industry, which obviously would, from what we've been talking about so far, looking at data-driven processes, looking at Earth observation, looking at processes underpinned by precision agriculture, it clearly shows that with scientific approach, rather than anecdotal approaches or traditional methods, one is able to create or establish a balance among social, environmental, and economic capital, around oil palm production. So with this, like I said, for me again, for Agri-Exchange, since we're in the business of de-risking agriculture, this is basically what we do in building capacity, of farmers to be able to keep historical data that would enable this algorithm to be able to function effectively, right? In Nigeria, and also with data availability comes information, right? Because in the data that you've stored historically, you'll be able to see trends in terms of the problems, and the same data you'll be able to see possible solutions. You get what I mean? We have to be proactive rather than being reactive. Reaction costs money, but being proactive saves a lot of money. Everything comes down to finances, because oil palm investment is quite large. If you're doing 10,000 hectares, 22,000 hectares, this runs into tens of millions of dollars. You get what I mean? And if you're not able to ensure that that balance is there, then you even stand a chance of having issues, relating to social impact. Because if there's low returns on investment, how do you want to, support the host community, right? Where you're doing business. So all of this have to be included as part of the feasibility studies. You get what I mean? Or the planning at the planning stage of the investment, to see that data-driven approaches, take a center stage. You get what I mean? In the planning stage for oil palm production. I hope that was a useful contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, well, definitely. So as we can see from your comments here, this is comes to basically better planning, de-risking the operation, and of course, optimizing and increasing the yields.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And carry on, please.
Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, if I could also add to the fact that we're able to predict yield. Yield prediction, you can only predict yield, especially if you have oil palm trees. If you don't have oil palm trees, you can't predict yield, because there's no basis for predicting yield if there's no stands. Now, predicting yield, especially if you have if you're rehabilitating an oil palm field, right? It gives an indication, of how much is going to, the cost in terms of P&L, the cost of rehabilitating an hectare and what the expected profit, that will be derived from that same hectare. So if I'm spending $7,000 in rehabilitating 1 hectare of oil palm, I know that, okay, I should be expecting probably like $10,000, per hectare, in terms of difference of $3,000, right? So with that, an investor basically knows, that this is how profitable this field is going to be. You get what I mean? While when the rehabilitation basically occurs, right? And also for existing, producing oil palm fields, it also shows that, right, that with that kind of proactive mindset in terms of predicting, the oil palm yield, it gives the investors also confidence, in terms of the direction or the trajectory of the business in the next 5, 10, 20 years, or through the lifespan of the oil palm, you get what I mean, which is 25 years. So they know that, look, in the next 25 years, you get what I mean, for a publicly traded company, this is possibly where, and also, I mean, estimating yield is sufficient, right? I mean, it's required, but it's not sufficient because there has to be a combination of other factors. For instance, you need to combine it with good agronomic practices or good management practices, you get what I mean, and all that. So if all of these are in place, we know that, okay, look, this is how much our share will be traded. You get what I mean? The stock exchange for a publicly traded company. However, for a private company, they know that, okay, look, this is what is going to be the estimated returns on equity, for investors that have committed to financial investments to this business. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. You get what I mean? But then again, the availability of data, historical data, especially, is critical to be able to make these informed decisions. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, so as we can see, this is complex projects and basically the complex approach of managing oil palm plantation, and it requires complex decisions, and basically this decision should be based on data. And also, Sergey, perhaps you could also maybe point out some other potential benefits by implementing oil palm model, PySawit model for the yield estimation for the stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Adewale and Yevgeny. And of course, I will be happy to highlight once again the benefits of having the yield prediction based on the PySawit model adapted by EOS Data Analytics team. So on the screen, you can see 11 benefits, but I will just focus on some of them. So first of all, you can optimize planning and decision-making. So by doing this, you will be able to mitigate financial risks and associated with production, market price fluctuations, and you can know also your ROIs before the harvesting season. Additionally, you can literally reduce the drone usage by up to 50% by significantly cutting the cost, because you know that the drone maintenance is could be costly. And this also helps you to avoid spending budget on some operations that are not necessary. And of course, you can streamline supply chain management, labor allocation cost, and resource expenditure. So on this note, I'd like to invite you to our Q&A session, on which Yevgeny will cover your questions, and we will do our best to answer them as detailed as possible.
Yes, Sergey. So we have a lot of questions in chat. Guys, thank you so much for being active and basically posting your questions. And now we'll just go through the questions and we will try to answer them. So the first question is, the main issue in Southeast Asia is harvesting. 70% wasted due to no labor. Drones for harvesting palm not working. Also, there is huge danger to labor 40 feet high palm. What are the solutions to the harvesting problem? This is actually a great question, and as we see, this is really a big issue. And from our side, from the satellite monitoring, we could provide basically the ability to understand what areas has been harvested and what areas not been harvested, because we could provide Along with the platform, there is mobile application which allows you to track individual workers and understand in what areas of the plantation they have been working and what areas need to be covered. Again, yeah, this is complex question and issue. We cannot cover it completely with just remote sensing, so it involves a lot of management work like planning and the recruiting and managing of the labor. But from the perspective of satellite monitoring, yeah, we have this solution which has been applied by one of our clients. So basically, they're using mobile application and they're using it could be installed on all the cell phones of the workers, and basically this is tracking of where and when the harvesting was done. And yeah, still, yeah, even with the application of this technology, they say that some of the palms are missed and yeah, some of the fruits are not collected. So this is really a big issue. But again, with digital approach, yeah, we believe that it would be more efficient of tracking how the harvesting is done. I hope, yeah, this answers your question, unless you, Sergey, as well have got something to add. Okay, so yeah, the second one, how to improve continuous lower yield of oil palm. And again, yeah, this is a complex question, and it cannot be just answered simply with one answer. But again, from our perspective, from the satellite data, I think to understand how you can improve the yield, first of all, it's important to understand what's happening right now and what was happening before on the plantation, including what type of soils you have available, what is the level of soil moisture, what is the level of the groundwater, what kind of hybrids of the oil palms you're growing, and so on. So basically multiple factors. And by understanding what was done before, basically the history, what's happening right now, you can make the adjustments on how to increase the oil palm, again, by managing the irrigation implementation, management of the pests and diseases, as well as fertilizer application. So in my opinion, those three are one of the main factors which are contributing to yield optimization. Of course, along with the efficient management, along with the having good team who could basically help to manage the plantation. Guys, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you so much, Evgeny. Yeah, I just also wanted to highlight that, like Evgeny mentioned, that the training and education or team, you definitely need to have a team who would support you, and sharing the knowledge about the best sustainable practices is the key to like good productivity. And of course, if you're going to be following those practices and sustainability practices, that will also help you to improve the oil palm yield from every single tree.
Next question, how best to monitor what's happening at the ground level below the palm canopies, regularly, example, palm bases and inner row cover vegetation, soil erosion, etc. Yeah, this is a great question, and for example, for monitoring below the palm canopies, different vegetation indices could be used, for example, like the NDRT index, which show us the conditions of the vegetation on the lower canopies, so below the main canopy. Speaking about soil erosion and EOSDA, we have soil erosion models. This is for wind erosion, for water erosion, and other basically factors which contribute to the soil erosion. So if you're interested in specifically soil erosion, so we could discuss this separately. We have information that we could share in forms of presentation slides, basically to explain what can be done. But again, to mitigate and basically to understand if there is the trend of the soil erosion, yeah, we have models which could be applied, and the models, they will provide better picture on how to mitigate these effects like the soil erosion. Another question, how crucial is planting material research in improved oil palm yield? I don't know, guys, Serge, Advela, would you like to cover this question?
Yeah, I'd like to comment here if I got the question right. So basically, it's important to kind of select specific planting material that can help you to determine the yield. So basically, you just need to kind of also use some planting material. Could be like with built-in resistance to some pests or diseases that will also help you to reduce usage of some additional like chemicals or fertilization. And of course, you just need to ensure that the material that you're using can like specifically can be suited to this specific climate conditions. So for example, it could be drought tolerant or flood resistant varieties, palm trees, and so on. So, and of course, like it's important to understand like the soil compatibility. If you're just basically planting the palm and the soil compatibility is not there, of course, you will not be able to achieve good results. So it's also important to understand like what would be the area where the palm trees are growing. Hope I managed to answer this question. If not, like please comment in the section below, so we'll just elaborate a bit.
Thank you, Sergey. Yeah, and this is actually was a good answer, and I just wanted to add soil compatibility. So in EOSDA, we can develop soil type maps. Also, yeah, this data could be obtained from the public sources, so like soil grids. In our case, yeah, the precision would be higher, and also we provide recommendations if, for example, the soils are well suited for cultivating any given type of crops. Another question. Hi team, how accurate is your crop yield prediction? So yeah, as was mentioned in the presentation, so the PySawit model, the basic PySawit model provides accuracy over 80%. And here with the implementation of satellite data, we believe that we could increase this up to 90%, again, depending on the quality of the input data. And as we said, we open to do POC pilot projects, basically to validate and test the model on the actual plantation. So please feel free to reach out to us and we will discuss the pilot projects if you would like to participate, and after that implement the PySawit model further on for the oil palm cultivation. Another question, counting trees per acre helps in management. Does your software count trees? No, unfortunately, yeah, our software doesn't count the trees. So we use data from Sentinel-2, which has a resolution of 10 meters. So basically that resolution doesn't allow us to like count single trees. But in future, this might change and we might gonna apply, you know, like higher resolution data, and this data will be will allow us to basically provide information on a tree level. But again, that would be done in future, depending on the availability of the sensors. Again, this is yeah, this high resolution data, commercial high resolution data, it's expensive, so basically it could contribute to the cost of overall solutions, which in some cases, you know, like not going to be feasible for plantations to implement such high cost. But again, in comparison to the drones, actually that could be a good solution.
Yeah, Evgeny, thank you very much. And I also wanted to add that while it's not available within the crop monitoring platform, we still can provide a custom solution. So as Evgeny mentioned, we can simply use some commercial satellites. It could be sub-meter resolution satellites. And by acquiring the data over your area, we can technically like help you to calculate the amount of trees. Of course, if you can use drones, and you can use drones, but again, we can calculate the amount of budget you need to allocate for this project, and you can compare it how better to go, whether go with the drones or go with the satellite imagery.
Thank you, Serge. Next question. What about clouds? Doesn't it interrupt the imagery? Yes, yeah, the high cloud level, especially in tropical and subtropical regions, is affecting the availability of data. And as I mentioned before, we have cases, like in most of the cases, when we have 1 or 2 images, clear images per month, this is a good result here because of the cloud level. This is hard to get, you know, the frequency, the images with the frequency that is taken by the satellite. So usually this is like 3 or 5 days, but again, if we have 1 or 2 images, clear images per month, this is already good results. And yeah, usually like most of the companies, they do not require this high frequency, like 5 or like every 10 days, because again, it will also take time to process this data. So like monthly or bi-monthly frequency of data update is sufficient and basically could provide good information. And here, for those of you who would like to get the images more frequently, we have option daily images. And here again, the chances of getting images more frequently will increase because here the images are taken daily. But again, clouds, they could interrupt even daily images, but it could increase here the chances of getting good image more frequently. Next question. Can the satellite imagery predict accurately based on the ripeness when the harvesting needs to take place? Well, again, this question could be answered by the pilot conducting the pilot, and basically by implementing PySawit model, we could provide information about the potential yield outcomes and also perhaps some recommendations when is like the best time for harvesting. But again, we would need to discuss this more closely on some exact examples, and we would involve our scientists and see if we could provide this recommendation. Another one, does your system include tree traceability similar to question 6, where we're asking about counting trees per acre? So yeah, in our system, yeah, we do not have this traceability on a tree level, so we provide information based on Sentinel-2 data, which is 10 meters resolution, so that would be 10 by 10 pixel size of the data. Another question, do you use dirt to plant? Not sure, guys, Adwela, Sergey, if you could maybe answer this question, because I do not completely understand it.
Again, if I got the question right, if you mean the soil type, we definitely can help you with soil type mapping. And of course, if you're just thinking about the dirt as the soil, then you need to pay attention to soil fertility, then soil acidity, and soil depth, and soil erosion. So basically, those a specific list of key points that you need to pay attention to whenever you are planting palm trees. And of course, you need to utilize the best soil management practices in order to keep the soil fertile. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much it from my end.
Okay. Yes, please. So basically, again, this comes, as the case of using, drought-resistant, disease-resistant seeds. You get what I mean? Engaging in good management practices, and also, at the pre-farming stage, having soil sampling or soil mapping done for land use classification for fertilizer recommendation is always critical. Because typically in Nigeria, Agri-Exchange carries out land soil sampling and soil mapping for specific crops. So we do crop-specific soil sampling. So for instance, we've done soil sampling for, we just concluded soil sampling for about 22,000 hectares. And with that, we were able to determine, the viability of the area for oil palm production. You get what I mean? Because all the indices is made available, and we compare that, with international, how would I call it, baseline, to be able to determine how suitable the area is in terms of, how it's going to be viable. So the soil mapping is critical, and it's also essential for you to do field visits to be able to carry out the soil sampling, using a well tested and respected soil laboratory. So that basically comes in handy, because from the soil, you'll be able to determine, the viability in terms of, pests and diseases, and in terms of soil organic carbon instead of soil organic matter, in terms of, the trace elements or the soil nutritional components that is required to ensure that you have a thriving oil palm production. So once you have that, then again, that will also be able to tell you areas of, in terms of land use classifications, areas of high suitability, moderate and low suitability, and also how to be able to apply inputs in terms of fertilizers to be able to create a balance, across the field. So yeah, soil mapping is a major component of this investment. Thanks.
Thank you, Adwella. It was really insightful. Next question. Measuring chlorophyll is an important aspect of nutrient and productivity. Chlorophyll at the leaf level, can the satellite imagery do this? And the answer is yes. In crop monitoring platform, we have reddish chlorophyll index, which actually provides a chlorophyll reading on the leaf level. So basically, again, it's applicable on the global level or per block level, and by using this index, you could see the chlorophyll level across the block or plantation. Another question here asking about our client that is using our platform on the Kalimantan Island and how much the cost of the platform. So yes, we're working with the Teladan Prima Agro. This is a company from Indonesia, and we've been working here with them for already 2 years. This is third year that we're working together. And all the related questions about the cost here, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will explain again, depending on the area that you need to monitor, what would be the cost of the application of the crop monitoring platform. Next question, which area is the best to plant palm tree in Indonesia? Again, we would need to make some assessment, again, based on the soil types and also the availability of other factors. But again, this is the question that we need to understand what area do you mean specifically. So if you have any area in mind, or you just need to understand basically through the whole Indonesia. So again, we could discuss this and we could provide recommendations, but again, based on the maybe some exact areas.
Yeah, I also wanted to comment here quickly that one of the areas, good areas, could be Kalimantan. So, but there are some other areas in Indonesia. So when I speak with clients, so mostly they're using Sumatra and Sulawesi. So those are two additional areas where you can like plant palm oil trees. But as Evgeny mentioned, there are many factors that can impact the productivity, and of course we can recommend you based on the climate parameters, soil, like some additional land availability or environmental conditions. We can technically advise you what would be the best area to plant those trees. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sergey. Next question, is it the real-time data? So not actually, because there is some delay from the moment the image was taken by the satellite and the moment when it appears in the platform. So usually the delay is about like several hours. So this is same day, but with a delay of several hours. So I would say it's like near real-time data. Another question, is it a good idea to invest in Dubai? Yeah, I think investment is always a good idea, and we cannot comment further. Here we have a comment, suggestion. I suggest you to have a good agri-practice module to cover labor, to ensure labor practices are being adhered by the plantation, more like a management tool. This is part of RSPO compliance. Most Malaysian plantations have been sanctioned due to labor practices. Yeah, thank you so much for this suggestion, recommendation, and actually in the platform we do have modules which allow us to track all the activities which is done, including from planting, fertilizer application, other management activities. So it's already available in the platform. But again, if you would like to use the platform and if you would like to have some specific customizations in terms of the any compliances as mentioned here, so we would be happy to hear your suggestions and basically see what could be done. But again, in the platform we already have management tools and other specifics could be discussed. But yeah, thank you for the suggestion. Can your solution work for a publicly supported agriculture program involving thousands of farmers with fragmented and small pieces of fields all over the place? Again, yeah, this is, if we're speaking about like really small plots with the size of less than, I would say, 3 or 2 hectares, so that would be challenging for the system to provide analytics on these small plots. But if the areas, like the plots, the larger than 3 hectares, so regardless of their location, even if they are scattered, it is possible to add them to the platform and have continuous monitoring. So the suggestion here, if it's like really small plots, which under 1 hectare, in that case, that would be challenging. But if we have plots which are kind of over 2 or 3 hectares, and even if they are like scattered all over the place, if they distributed unevenly across the region, so it is possible to work with them. And if yes, what kind of data will you need to be able to provide your solution? So basically, we do not need any data, so you could take the platform, if we're speaking about crop monitoring platform, and you could add your plots to the platform by uploading files or by selecting the plots by doing the manual selection. So you could easily add those plots. Also, it will ask you to provide some required data about planting date, type of crop that you have on this plot. And the platform will provide images, vegetation indices, weather data, basically specifically for your location.
Yeah, thank you very much, Evgeny. I also wanted to add to this question that we have like enterprise level analytics, so you can technically use this module within the platform. It's available by default, and if you have thousands of plots, you can technically see all the statistics on those plots. And also, you can group them by different categories, and by doing this, you will be able to break down the analytics and just break down all those activities within this group.
Thank you, Serge. And the next question, is PySawit the source of data to predict production only from satellite imagery? So basically here, one of the audience is asking if satellite imagery is the only source of data to predict the yield. And the answer is no. So if we have a look at this slide, so here basically you could see the main blocks from which a PySawit model is constructed. So this is meteor data, this is crop data, soil water data, photosynthesis, including the amount of CO2 absorbed by the oil palms. This is energy balance, so basically the amount of energy absorbed or available for the oil palm trees. And satellite data is just like additional predictor which contributes to higher accuracy, including LAI, which is leaf area index, canopy temperature, soil moisture, and these kind of parameters, we call them predictors, they obtain by using satellite data, either optical or in the case if we're speaking about soil moisture, this is synthetic aperture radar satellites that we use to get the soil moisture data. So soil data, I mean, satellite data is just one of the predictors, but overall, the model, as you can see, contains of several blocks, which include different parameters from meteor, crop, soil, water, photosynthesis, and energy balance. Yeah, I hope it makes it clear and provide the clarity.
Yeah, I just wanted to also comment here that the original PySawit model developed by the Malaysian scientists, it doesn't utilize any satellite data at all. So this is like our science team who improved the model itself. So basically, like Evgeny mentioned, that we are using additional data sets that helps us to deliver more accurate data by doing the by providing the yield over your specific area by including all those parameters taken from your location. So it could be leaf area simulation, temperature, soil moisture, and everything, of course, is taken specifically over your location. So all these parameters will certainly affect the accuracy. And of course, it will provide you the results based on your own area and within specific conditions.
Another question, do you think oil palms can be planted with the hydroponic technology? Yeah, unfortunately, guys, I cannot comment on this question. I don't know, you searched it well, if you have any thoughts or comments on this approach.
Yeah, I can comment here. I think hydroponic technology is good, but let me tell you that the roots in the palm trees are very, very like long, and in order to kind of maintain the healthy yield, it could be probably problematic. But I just don't know whether this technology exists on the market. I know it exists for other plants, but I'm not sure if it's going to be available for plants, for oil palms.
Thank you, Serge. Yeah, last question from satellite. Can we know how much yield for my plantation? And basically the answer is that only satellite data cannot provide the estimation yield prediction, but overall implementation of PySawit model specifically could provide information about expected yield on your plantation. And in our case, as you can see, we enhance this data with satellite data to increase the accuracy. So the answer is alone no, but in combination with other factors and by implementation the developed model, we can provide yield estimation for your plantations. On this note, I would like to thank you, all the audience, for being present at this webinar. I hope it will insightful for you and you spend your time worthwhile. And also, I would like to thank you, my colleague and Edwela, for being co-speakers at this webinar. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a delightful experience so far. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Take care.